Buying a property is a decision of a lifetime. There are many aspects to consider whether you are buying a property in Portugal or in another country. And the main aspects that people are looking into are, of course, the budget, the location, and the orientation of the house, the display of the house. But in the recent years, with all that's happening in the world, there are other aspects that you should factor in when you are thinking of buying a property. And I want to talk from my own experience, because after buying a property here in Portugal, in Algarve, an apartment, I learned about a lot of things that I want to know before buying. And even if we did our due diligence, some things you just learn from experience and hopefully watching my videos and other YouTube videos. For me, one of the aspects that you should definitely take into consideration and pay very much attention to is the realtor. The realtor can make or break a deal, and I had my fair share of dealings with a lot of brokers, like 4 or 6 brokers, and not all experiences were pleasant. In fact, more experiences were rather bad than good. So pay attention to the realtor. The realtor, first and foremost, should work for you. So as much as possible, try to go with a buyer's realtor. A buyer's realtor is really someone who works for you and is looking for you, the right property for you. Is not just presenting some properties that he or she has in the portfolio, and actually works to find you dedicated property in your area. So we didn't have a buyer's realtor, a buyer's agent. We just wanted to buy in Val do Lobo. It's very hard to find other realtors that work in the area besides the Val do Lobo realtor. So for us it was kind of a special situation, but as much as you can, try to work with a realtor that is going to work and find a property for you, because we lost two apartments because we didn't have the right realtor. And in the end, we are not sorry that we bought this apartment. We are very pleased with it, but also we had looked at 1 or 2 apartments before in the same location on the same street. We have videos about that. I'm going to link in the description. You must see those videos to make an idea about what could happen if you are working with the bad realtor. And if you need a realtor, a buyer's realtor, I also have a recommendation for you. Just shoot me an email. My email address is in the description below. Another important aspect that you should take into consideration, especially with the events in the last 2 or 3 years, is the outdoor spaces. Everybody comes in Portugal to live outside. So in Portugal, you are living more of outdoor lifestyle. You want to do that because the weather is wonderful, and it would be pity just to come to Portugal and live in the same enclosed life in your house. So you need outdoor spaces in Portugal because the weather is fine, but also because in the summer, if you are moving here not part-time like we are, just full-time, you need to be outside. You need to bask in those Portuguese sun. And if you are buying an apartment or a house, make sure that there is a patio, there are balconies, terraces. And if you buy a house, make sure you have a yard, and the yard is very well maintain, or you can set up the yard as you please. Look at the orientation of the house. This is another important thing, the orientation, how the sun, where the sun is going to be in the evening and in the morning. This is an important point also in not only in the summer but also in the winter, because that is the sun that is going to warm up the house and is going to save you a lot of money at electricity. If the sun is not very well positioned, your house is going to be damp and cold, and you are going to spend a fortune just to heat up the house. So the position of the house, the position of the is very hard to find in Portugal. Another thing I wish I knew before buying a property in Portugal is to be very careful of the house efficiency. Of course, this system of efficiency is the same throughout Europe, so we have it also in our country. But in our country, the houses are very well insulated, because in our country it's cold most of the times, and you cannot live in a house that is not insulated. So we knew about this, but we didn't know that in Portugal the houses are not insulated. And even after we come upon this information, we didn't actually know how it is to actually live in an uninsulated house. So the energy certificate is very important, and I would add here that it's kind of important to try to buy a newer property, you know, a property that is constructed with the new regulations. They didn't exist in the 80s, in the 70s, you know, and if you have the budget, definitely go for a newer or even a brand new property, because it's going to cost you very much to renovate that house and insulate that house. And I don't know, if a house is very old, you have to pay attention to the mold, and there are a lot of issues with older construction, and I'm saying that from my own experience. The houses on our street, the villas where the apartments are, they were built somewhere in the 80s, 86, 87, so kind of early 90s, and the houses are not insulated. They don't have central heating or something like that. They don't have underfloor heating. Only if you renovate and insulate yourself that house. So yes, a house would be much more expensive if it's newer, but kind of the same amount of money you are going to invest when you renovate. It's very expensive to renovate in Portugal. It's very time consuming and nerve consuming. I have other videos about how Portuguese do things, about the quality of services in Portugal. It's not very good. You need to take your time. Nothing happens overnight. And to work with constructors, it's a hassle. So if you have the budget and you are kind of going back and forth between a newer property and an older one, if you have the money, buy the new property, because it's totally worth it. We didn't have the money and we didn't have a choice, but if you do have a choice, go for the newer property and check out that efficiency certificate. And another thing I wish I had been more careful is the layout of the house. I love the layout of the house. Reason I chose this house is because it has a ground floor and also an upper floor. It has a stair and the spaces are divided. You have the living room and the kitchen and the terraces on the ground, and upstairs you have the bedrooms, and I love this layout. But what I don't have in this house, and I absolutely have no place to put this, is an office. And remember, we are working, we are not retired. Not even part-time working, we are working full-time. We manage to keep our businesses here in our country, and we are working also when we are in Portugal. And if you are a freelancer, a digital nomad, or just a person who works online, you will need a space dedicated for this work, because I said in the first place, I don't need an office. I don't want to hear about an office in my life. I will work from the couch. And guess what happened? What happened is that now I have problems with my back, because working months and months from the couch, it's going to ruin your position, and it's going to do nasty things to your backbone, and my back is absolutely hurting. And after a while, I started having also some pains in my chest here, in this part of the chest, and I thought it's something else. I thought I was sick, but no, it was just of the position working months and months on the couch. You need an office, a proper table with a chair, and to sit. If you sit at a computer hours and hours, you need to have a proper chair to sit on, because otherwise you are going to have problems. When we are going to renovate, we are definitely have to change the layout of the house and include an office. I don't know how, but it's mandatory, because you just cannot work from the couch. Flavius works from the table that is sitting on the veranda on the balcony, so he's kind of okay, but I was working from the couch. And don't do this mistake, because you are going to end up after a few months thinking you have God knows what problems with your heart, with your back, and all these pains are related to your position. Leave me in the comments, what do you think about these things And maybe if you have some other suggestions, leave it in the comments for other people to see, because we are all here people who are trying to move to Portugal, buy a property in Portugal, invest in Portugal, and making a life in Portugal. Thank you for watching the video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!